Hey everyone, welcome back to Bagel TCG. Today we're going to be doing the first tier list of the Hunted season. Super excited for this one. I've had a lot of people asking for it. Uh, I'm ready to jump in. There's, I think, 37 heroes legal in Classic Constructed right now, which is kind of insane. I'm hoping that this year they print less heroes and let a lot of them living legend and maybe focus more on the weaker heroes and supplementing them. I think 37's quite a bit, but nonetheless, let's get into it and go over all the heroes. Of course, we have three new heroes entering the format. Kind of four, I guess. There's two new Arachnes, and then there is a Fang and Syndra, which are a Draconic Warrior and a Draconic Ninja. And then we have two Chaos Assassins. So there's quite a lot of assassins legal in Classic Constructed now. First, let's just go over the best decks. S tier, these are the decks that you have to really think about when you're building the deck, and you have to probably convince yourself why not to play them. A good reason is probably that you just don't enjoy them. But these are kind of the two best decks, I'd say. They're both, I think, almost guaranteed to Living Legend in this RTN season over the next month, month and a half. I think they're both quite close to Living Legend, and they're also probably the two strongest heroes in the game right now. So I don't expect for these heroes to be legal when we come around to Pro Tour London. But at the moment, they are the two strongest decks, both fairly aggressive decks that can also get through the more controlling decks for different reasons. I think Zen's probably the best because he has a good matchup into Viserai as well. But they're definitely the two strongest decks in the format at the moment. Uh, I don't want to touch too much more there because I don't think they're going to be around too long. I think they're just really broken. Play them if you want to play a strong deck. But yeah, they've been around for a while, so maybe they're not interesting to you. They're not going to probably last more than 1 or 2 weeks, even some of them. I think maybe Zen's pretty close, so he might only last 1 or 2 weeks. I don't know the exact math, but they might not even last the whole Road to National season. So maybe you want a hero you can learn and play all 4 weeks. So let's get into A tier because I think basically no other hero is going to Living Legends. So it's just these two. So if you don't want a hero that's going to Living Legend in the next month or two, you can look at A tier and under. The assassins got a huge boost. Almost all the assassins are A tier. A tier is going to be quite big, fair warning. There are 37 heroes, so it's hard not to have pretty big tiers at this point. But I think also because the format's pretty unsolved, it's hard to say which assassin is the best. I think a lot of people are thinking the Marionette, also known as Mario, is doing pretty good. I think that Slip Through the Cracks and Azuri also can have a pretty good spot. I think for different reasons, Slip Through the Cracks is a bit more aggressive. Azuri can do some fun things using the hero ability with the Graphene dagger creators, so both pretty strong. And then new, especially with Count Your Blessings, was just a standard assassin of the old format before the Hunted. I don't think she gets as much as the other assassins, of course. She probably gets the least, but she is pretty strong still, and so I think all of these assassins are good. Old Arachne is pretty horrible. He just cares about contract. I wouldn't touch him. You have so many other assassins you could play, so don't worry about Old Arachne down here in D tier. Outside of that, I think Enigma is still powerful. Um, so I think she's still an A tier. She doesn't have a great matchup into these two S tiers, which I think is her problem. Once they both living legends, she might be in a much better spot. But for now, I think she's strong, but not oppressively strong. Other A tiers, Aurora is like a weaker version of Viserai. I mean, obviously they're very different heroes, but she's just a weaker Runeblade at the moment. I think if you want to play a cool Runeblade, I would just play Viserai, but Aurora still does the strong Runeblade things. So if you want to play a different one, you don't exactly like Viserai's playstyle, you could try Aurora out. She does a lot of good 0 for 4s, but yeah, not quite on Viserai's level in terms of damage output. Ira seemed to be S plus plus for a second there when Zephyr Needle was legal. I couldn't figure out anything that beat her, but Zephyr Needle is gone, and now she has a significantly lower damage output. She's still quite strong. The dagger cards are still pretty good, but she's not, super OP, gonna take over the meta kind of situation. I think That's mostly good for A tier, but I'm gonna throw in a sleeper pick that I really like. I'll put in Fang. He's who I've been playing the most, and probably the deck tech that's gonna be out in the next 2 or 3 days, hopefully for Fang. Of course, I don't think I have a concrete build long term because he's so new, but I've had pretty good success with him so far. I think I've won 8 out of the 12 games I played or something like that. So he's feeling quite strong. His once you get 3 fealty, you get about 16-ish value per hand. Once you're at 3 fealty, and 16 value per hand is pretty good. You get about 4 value per card. So I think 16 value per hand once you're at 3 fealty is good enough to make him powerful, and people aren't really going to be prepped for him. So he'll be my sleeper A tier pick. Um, Getting into B tier is kind of the strong heroes that are maybe not well positioned or just aren't don't quite have all the pieces at the moment. I think Azalea's like that. She just doesn't have the armor that a lot of the other aggro decks have, and they do have a lot of armor now, so they're not as worried about her big on hits. I think both of the Draconic Ninjas are pretty strong, but just don't have the damage output of the Rune Blades and Zen, for example. So I think they're both quite good, but not all the way there either. I think Vincent is the weakest of the Rune Blades, but still quite strong. I think she got even stronger with this set with, I think, Cull. So I'll put her there. I think the Guardians are a little slept on. They're not amazing, but they do have decent matchups into some of the aggro decks up here, especially if these other aggro decks, like the Draconic ones in Aurora, become more popular. They might have a place. Um, I mean, KO is still fine-ish. He might actually be C tier. So we'll take him out for now. Is anyone else B tier? Maybe Prism. You can sneak him in there with some Heralds. Acilio actually did some crazy things. I just think nobody plays him. But if you want to put a lot of hours into learning him, he can do some kooky stuff. And then maybe I'll give one for Dash IO. I mean, I don't think Dash IO is that great, but there was some potential. Yeah, High Octane's gone. Okay, we'll just say that's for B tier, right? I don't want to throw too much in. The tiers are already quite big, like I said. I know I went through it pretty fast, but essentially, I think all these heroes have something going for them, but they're not quite on the level of like meta defining, right? Like, I think all of these heroes in S and A tier are the ones you're going to think about when you're building your deck. If you're building a deck right now to go to RTN, you should be thinking about how it plays into Assassin, how it plays into Viserai and Zen, and how it plays into these other kind of more niche decks like Fang, Ira, Aurora, Enigma. You need to have a matchup for all of these heroes. Some of them are similar, right? Like assassin matchups can be somewhat similar between the assassins, and maybe the Runeblade matchup is a bit similar too. So you don't need to have one for every hero, but you do need to think about most of these heroes when you're going into RCN season. Maybe you don't need to consider everything from B and under as much, but they could still. I expect them to win some number of RTNs. Uh, C tier, I think Dorinthia could do okay. C tier is I don't really expect them to win an RTN. They're not great, but maybe they'll win one. They're like not horrible, but kind of in the middle between. This is like average to slightly below average. This is quite a bit below average. D is like don't play this hero at all. Um, you can maybe play C tier. I think the two warriors are okay here. KO and Florian are okay here. Um, the dashes are okay here. Maybe Verdance as well. Bolton always grabs a spot here. Riptide actually might deserve a spot in B tier up here with Azalea. To be clear, I don't rank them within the tiers. As you can probably tell by me grouping stuff like the Assassins. This is, don't think about the order within the tiers. It's, yeah, that would take me forever to organize that. Levia in C tier. And then I think the rest of the gang is down here. There's maybe potential for Katsu in C tier because he got a new card, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, this was fairly quick. I kind of turboed through it in 10 minutes. Because I at this point it's like I don't when I used to do tier lists 3 years ago, I would talk about every hero every time I placed them because there was only like 10, 15 heroes. But now when there's 35 plus heroes, I don't really want to sit here and spend a few minutes on each hero. It'd be like a 2-hour video. So instead, I kind of turbo through it. Now I'll just go back a bit and discuss the general pace of the meta. Um, I think you need to have a plan for these two heroes. The first concept is for Zen, you need to have some way to disrupt him or outrace him, but I don't think you're going to be able to outrace him very well. So you need to have some plan to disrupt Zen. He does quite good with big hands. Also, try to play around his wax on, wax off. If he can Zen state you very well, you might have an issue. So get some disruption and get some way to play around the Zen states. Viserai also disrupts, but in a different way. You need to stop him from. The best way at the moment is Warmongers. So I would probably be packing 3 Warmongers Diplomacy up until the point that Viserai hits Living Legend. Then you can probably drop them because I don't think they'll be as relevant. But at the moment, I would pack 3 Warmongers Diplomacy. Also, the new card Shelter the Storm. You can discard it as an instant to prevent the next source, 3 sources of 1 damage, so you can prevent 3 rune chance with it. So I'd say you probably want 3 Shelter the Storm at the moment as well. 4 Viserai in particular. So those are kind of ways to fight both of them. Assassins, you need to have some game plan against their disruption. What can you do if you're getting disrupted over and over? Do you have a way to play around the attack reactions? Of course, Enigma, you need to have enough damage output that she can't just roll you over with ward allies. You need to have some way to push, 15, 16 damage consistently, or at least every other turn. Aurora, another aggro deck, so you just need to be able to disrupt her. She doesn't block amazing, so stuff like Command and Conquer, Weakest Link are going to do okay. Ira is a bit hard to exactly play around because she just does a consistent thing every turn, like dagger, dagger, big attack. Maybe having some kind of good armor or decent blocking power on the last attack will be what's helpful there. Fang is pretty new, so it's hard to say, but if you can blow up his fealty, that's pretty nice. Or slow him down from getting a 3 fealty, that's going to be your best way to beat Fang there. I know it's pretty quick tier list video, but I think these are where everyone is right now. It's hard to say without any actual games. I think there's a calling Memphis this weekend or next weekend, and also we've got, of course, all the Road to Nationals coming up over the next 5 or 6 weeks. So I'm really excited to see all the results. You can all tell me how wrong or right I am after we see all the RTN results, but I definitely expect these 2 S tier heroes to Living Legend and win the majority of the RTNs in the first week or 2 until they hit Living Legend. And then I think we'll see quite a big meta shakeup, but I do think mostly A tier. Some of these heroes will move up to S tier, or maybe we won't really have an S tier for a while as the meta gets figured out, and it'll kind of just be this tier list with this top tier missing for a while. But that's where I see everything. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time.